All right, hello, welcome. Here we are, whatever the date is, 27th of October, 2021. This is Chat with Matt, 30-minute or so live stream here on the Bright Light Beings free Facebook group, Mantara's free Facebook group. Here to talk about whatever you might want to know about, whatever you feel you could stimulate some transformation around. So I'm happy with my lighting situation here. Best would be a bit of light snuck out the back here, you see, and illuminated my nice artwork. Well, it's not really going to happen. Doesn't matter, that'll do. Anyway, I'm going to have a quick drink, and then we're going to get into this. I know, you think I could have done that before I hit go live, but I never seem to. Alrighty, my friends, how you all doing? I have been particularly lethargic, although I've been quite active as well. So it's a bit of an interesting combination. Been keeping myself quite busy doing various things, most of which are manual, keeping myself busy in the garden, building a new garden shed, stuff like that, which is actually really grounding and really helps to shift energy for me. I've also been doing a lot of walking. So I've been keeping really busy, but waking up in the morning feeling like absolute roadkill. Basically because we're transmuting a huge amount of stuff through the night. Hey, Jackie, and anyone else. Actually, there's a few of you on, but I haven't seen much scroll up the screen yet. So if you've been feeling quite low on energy, tired, heavy, etc., you're not alone. There's a huge amount uprising at the moment to be released. We can see that in the external world with the chaos and the density that's being revealed. Hey, Sister Jill. Yes, you have found me on a Tuesday night. Enjoy your client, Jackie. Thank you. You are appreciated as well. Hey, Susan. So I do have a question written in here from Sheena ahead of time. So I'm going to start with this and then we can progress into whatever. And of course, please feel free to add to it as I progress. This is obviously not going to be an in-depth lecture. This is going to be a chat. That's what it's called. So we can bounce around and bring to the table whatever might serve all of us to contemplate, and not even just to contemplate, even just to be triggered by the words and to inquire into what we're talking about can, facilitate transformation in very powerful ways. So don't lose sight of that fact. Hey, Sister Audra. So anyway, Sheena wrote, I'm going to try and read it all before I start answering, which is always a challenge for me. Service is the basis of my question. As part of our soul journey, do you think we come here to follow a particular career path, or are we here to be of service? The monetary economy has brought us all to a point where some of us chase a career or goal. Since you are now working with Mantara, your direction has changed. If we're here to express love and joy, some can do that in traditional career as it is their passion. If we're here to facilitate planetary evolution, then that changes the whole playing field. In esoteric circles, I can find it interesting to see where the mighty dollar has a lot of sway. For example, a clairvoyant can charge more than an energy healer. The energy healer, however, may add far more value to humanity. Interesting expression, and there's a lot to talk about in there, Sister Sheena. I'm not quite sure where to start. Maybe I'll start at the top. I want to start at the bottom, but I'm going to start at the top because I want to challenge the very last thing not the very last thing, but the second last thing you said, but we'll get there. So I'll start at the top and talk about this idea. As part of our soul journey, do you think we come here to follow a particular career path, or are we here to be of service? I don't believe either. I believe our soul journey, we're here to have experiences. We can choose. Individual souls choose different ways. Some are choosing to have experiences following a career path. Some are choosing to have experiences getting deeper into being of service to humanity. Some are choosing to have experiences by being relatively dark or even just delinquent and not engage so much in what society desires them to be anarchists, to rock the boat, to be different, to stand out as black sheep, not to be particularly of a service, but because that's what their soul desires to do, right? We all come here with all sorts. Some come here to experience motherhood. Some come here to experience the depth of sexual pleasure. Some come here to strive to earn as much money as they can and to use that in purely selfish ways. And none of those reasons are wrong. None of them are wrong, because we are all aspects of the divine choosing to come onto this planet to experience our divinity in a vast array of different opportunities, right? Different opportunities to express ourselves. Hey, Sister Jane. So it's important to remember that God, the divine, is not just of the light and of service. There's an aspect there, of course, but there's all sorts of aspects. God is the totality of all. And so God itself has no judgment in the absolute, right? So, so that's what I feel there. I'm going to keep going though, because that's just as a basis to start with. It's not particularly absolute that we're here to follow a career or to be of service or to do anything, but everything is available to us. But there's much more value in your question to consider. The monetary economy has brought us to a point where some of us chase career or goal. Since you're now working with Mantara, your direction has changed. If we are here to express love and joy, some can do that in traditional care as is their passion. If we're here to facilitate planetary issues, that changes the whole playing field. Yeah, so I don't get too caught up in this. I think it's fine that people chase career and goal, but I think many people are waking up to it's not really satisfying their soul at this time. And many people are awakening to the fact they want more. They want more. And so, hey, Sister Stacey and Diane, so they're digging deeper into how they can be of service to their soul self, right? How they can find more meaning in their life. Now, that can be through a range of things. It can be spending more time with their kids. It can be spending more time with their parents. It can be spending more time with their friends. It can be spending more time in spiritual practice. It can be spending more time in all sorts of hobbies or pursuits, right, that give them a sense of satisfaction. It can be spending more time in nature, on the ocean, etc., etc., etc. Anything that helps them find connection with themselves through relationship, generally. That's how we operate as humans. Of course, we can go for the absolute connection in our meditative or spiritual practices, but most of us find this connection, this meaning, this purpose in our being in relating to other people in particular, but also relating to other concepts and energies like nature, like the dolphins, like the whales, like the trees, right? We find this connection which deepens our spiritual understanding of ourselves, which expands our soul's presence here on the planet, which feels very purposeful and feels very nurturing, it feels very supportive, and it feels very joyful. And that's what people are looking for, this deeper sense of joy, because they're recognizing that the satisfaction you get from chasing money and even succeeding in being successful in your career, right? This satisfaction that comes with external success is not giving them what they were promised, not giving them the happiness, the depth of joy that they were looking for. It's very short-lived, very temporal, very temporary, right? This satisfaction type happiness. And many people are awakening to this right now. So there is a great shift, and many people are all of a sudden wanting to become a yoga teacher, wanting to become a clairvoyant or a healer or do something, right, that feels meaningful. Many people are wanting that, but quite often people don't have the depth to really carry that off, potentially to the degree that they might think that they're able to. This is the point. The other thing that I really want to talk about or challenge, in esoteric circles, I can find it interesting to see where the mighty dollar has sway. I think this is interesting throughout all of society, right? And esoterics has no difference, right? No difference. It's not above any other form of religion or pastime or career path, right? The dollar has infiltrated its way into the vast majority of the population's influence. Everyone, in fact, is influenced in some way by the dollar. I'm influenced by the dollar, of course, because we need the fucking things to pay for our food, right? Pretty much. You can go to a great extent to opt out of the system altogether, but that is not an easy thing. You can hold a strong intention that the dollar doesn't influence you very much, right? It has a minimal influence on how you're choosing to bring your services forward and what you are choosing to spend your day doing, but there will be some level of influence nonetheless. We have to understand that things are not absolute. It's not no influence or all influence. Everyone is on the scale of being influenced by all sorts of things, whether it's the economy, whether it's the energetic situation we're currently going through, the virus, the vaccine, the whatever, the mandates, all of that is influencing us, whether we are choosing to be hook, line and sinkered influenced or not, right? Because it's happening, and because basically we're empathic and we feel energy. Anyway, this is an example. For example, a clairvoyant can charge more than an energy healer. Why? Why do you think that? I get it. I've been there. I've been there as well. I've noticed. I've been at those spiritual fairs where, as someone offering transformation, you are not nearly as popular with the vast majority of the people who go to those energetic fairs or spiritual fairs as the person who can tell you when your boyfriend's going to show up, or tell you when you're going to earn some money, or tell you, etc., etc. This idea of knowing the future is so alluring to the vast majority of humanity. Their clairvoyants can quite often be busier than energy healers. I know some energy healers who do charge a hell of a lot of money though. And I don't know if any clairvoyants can charge exactly that amount of money. So I get it. I get where your question is coming from, or your statement is coming from, but I don't believe it is strictly true. And I would encourage you to let go of it. Exactly, Audra. People want answers and not to have to do the inner work. People like this idea that they want their life to change, but they don't want to change, right? So it's very common for people to feel that spending their money on getting information is far more important and justifiable than spending money on learning techniques to change themselves and grow. That's the vast majority of normality, right? Sitting in the middle of the bell curve. But I will encourage you to know, Sister Sheena, that there are plenty of people who are willing to pay for your energy work. There are plenty of people who are willing to pay good money for your energy work. Your job is to attract them to you and find them, or have them find you by you being visible to the vast majority of the population who don't appreciate what you do. This is the trick. As energy healers, as facilitators who come from a specific genre or intensity of light, we have a habit of hiding ourselves because we don't want to attract attention to ourselves by people who don't appreciate us. We don't want to be judged, basically. We don't want to have people challenge us. And unfortunately, when we follow through with keeping low key about what we really do, we can't attract the small percentage of the population, which is still a very big number, but it's a small percentage of the population, to us. And they would be willing to pay good money for the services that we offer because they're aligned with us, because they get us, because they feel the value in what we are doing. So the point is not to bemoan the idea that everybody, which is of course an exaggeration, just wants clairvoyant work and don't want to pay for energy healing, because it's not the truth. It's not the truth, and we don't need to get stuck there. And of course, what you believe is what shapes your perception, right? Which then influences how the world shows up to you and what you end up experiencing. So, and it's not about, and then you go on to say the energy healer, however, may add far more value to humanity, perhaps from your perspective, but not from everybody's perspective. This is the point. Value to humanity is relative. And, from some people's perspective, the clairvoyant is adding far more value to humanity. But that's their perspective. Neither perspective is right or wrong, right? You could argue with it, but that's just arguing from your perspective. Is your perspective more important than anyone else's perspective? This is what we must all start to dance with a little bit, because nothing is absolute in this world. The point is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you feel that you are expressing your soul's desires in expansive and exciting ways on this planet. And so your job is to find ways to be the energy healer you desire to be in ways that sustain you, and not to get caught up in going down the path of thinking, oh, people just want to spend their money have been manipulated into just wanting to spend their money on clairvoyance or etc., etc. And energy healers are doomed to have to work for pittance to save the world. We're not here to save the world. We're here to express ourselves. That's all we're here to be. It just so happens that many of us, in expressing ourselves, are doing things that are dragging humanity, influencing humanity in what we perceive as a positive way. As beings of light, we are helping the world move towards a more light-filled, collaborative, community, divine feminine expression. But that's just what we desire. The vast majority of the population don't have great desires in either direction. They're rather young souls. They're very easily manipulated. They have been very easily manipulated by dark beings on this planet for the last several thousand years. That is starting to change, right? The dark beings are getting more and more exaggerated in how they are manipulating the population, because they know their time is coming to the end as the seasons are changing. Earth is moving into a new energetic vibration, right? As it does its 25,000 year circle around the galaxy, we're now in a much more light-filled reality, right? We're coming into spring in the cosmic seasons, and so those of us who are of light are budding and blossoming and coming forth, and those who relish the darkness are getting more and more desperate to try and hang on to the last dregs of their control. So the vast majority of people are in the center. They're easily swayed. It is our job to stand up and sway them in what we perceive as a positive direction. That doesn't necessarily mean teaching and preaching. It doesn't necessarily mean being on your soapbox. It doesn't necessarily mean challenging the system in extrovert ways. It does mean, though, being authentically confident to be seen as yourself, influencing the world. Hey, Sister Mary, influencing the world in authentic ways, right? Just showing up as yourself, unapologetically of the light, unapologetically bright, unapologetically confronting to some people who have been indoctrinated into ways of the darkness, right? Into Jill adores springtime. We've got it here in New Zealand, and all of the Southern Hemisphere for that matter. So we will be challenged, and it will be uncomfortable for many people in the center of the bell curve who have become quite comfortable with following the dark authoritarian shadow masculine control agenda, right? Basically, if you do what you're told, you are looked after, right? And you can proceed to a degree on this path of satisfaction. And they're happy with that. Like 3-year-olds are happy playing in a sandpit with trucks. And yet, as we progress in age, we find that we're looking for more stimulation than that. Those of us who are older souls, whether of the dark or of the light, look for a little bit more, want to be more influential on the planet, and not willing to just be inert and just follow our own sensual pleasures. But the vast majority of the people on the planet are, and they're not wrong, they're just young. They're just young souls. So don't bemoan the fact that young souls don't value your services. You're not here to serve the young souls directly. You are here to serve people who feel in alignment with you. And through doing that, you will serve the all, except for dark beings. We're not serving them. We're actually annoying them quite a bit, right? We're actually against them, at least from their perspective. We're creating discomfort for them by flooding the planet with more and more light, just as they created quite a lot of discomfort for us 5,000 or 6,000 years ago when we were in autumn, flooding the planet with darkness. So, right, or helping to extinguish the light in various ways as they were gaining power. So the point being, my friends, is not to get too caught up in the absolutenesses of any of this, but really to follow your heart, to let go of some of the conclusions that you may have drawn in your mind about how it is, how it should be. I'm just remembering the post that I put on, which is one of the old ones, right? This is one I created back 2014 down on the beach in some interesting sunset lighting, and the little quote, or It's not really a quote because I just wrote it. What's a Mantara quote, I guess. Approaching life with a childlike curiosity and being willing to ask lots of questions brings fun and magic into your life. Let go of your conclusions about how life should be and allow the universe to treat you to a magic show. So the point is to be open and to question. Question yourself a lot. When you find yourself making statements like, clairvoyance can charge more than an energy healer, ask why. Why is that? Why do I believe that? What evidence do I use to back that up? And I'm not saying the evidence is wrong, right? But then inquire a little bit deeper. Is that the way it has to be in every sphere of society? What can I do to change that? Not necessarily to fight against it and make it wrong, but what can I do to be paid well as an energy healer? What can I do to increase my reach as an energy healer, my appeal? What can I do is to increase my appeal as an energy healer without diluting my services, without selling myself out, without actually pulling cards? You can pull cards. I pull cards every now and again, and I don't pretend to be a clairvoyant. I pull cards for inspiration to help which direction we're going with the energy work. How? Because even clairvoyants can work in very empowered ways. Some clairvoyants don't, of course. Many clairvoyants don't, of course. Many clairvoyants read whatever they're using as divination and they read it like it's the truth. Other clairvoyants read the energy and help the client make choices that's best going to serve them. Not necessarily telling them what's going to happen, but helping to empower them to make choices as to how to best navigate what potentially is coming up for them, or how to best move towards what they are desiring, right? It's not cut and dry. Clairvoyants are not less powerful than energy healers. That's not the truth. Some clairvoyants are very, very positive influences on this planet. Some are not so. Some are just, reading cards and earning $20 a go or whatever it is at the fair. Not that that's wrong. It's a completely valid expression of their soul self, as long as it feels that to them. And at some stage, they'll grow out of doing that and they'll want something new and different and perhaps more high vibrationary or perhaps not. Again, there's no judgments. Anyway, my friends, what else? I think I've answered Sheena, hopefully. And of course, I'm very happy to keep that conversation going. If you want to question anything that I've said here, please be willing to do so. If you want to, if I've missed the mark a little on what you really wanted to know, please be willing to indicate that. And I don't know if you're on live, but we can always talk about it next week. Time doesn't really matter. Jill, I missed this. When I've tried to bring some energy work and products out to the market, some people have jumped on me, judged me, and accused me of trying to profit out of the misery going around. Profit, ? Hey, would be nice. Profit, hey, would be nice. I attempted to let it wash over me, but the barbs stick. Yeah, so we have to understand, Jill, that we have a lot of history with being persecuted by people, and we have a lot of history of being disempowered by the dark agenda, which used various mechanisms, including the church, etc., to make it wrong to profit from doing spiritual work. Profit, to actually earn money, to charge, right? Because rather ironically, all healing was supposed to go through the church. The church didn't charge for it, but they made sure everyone donated heavily. By various mechanisms, by basically guilting people and telling them if they, paid a lot of money to the church, then they're much more likely to get into heaven. And any healing that needed to happen happened through the church, basically to centralize power. Thank you, Susan. I'm glad my way of explaining things aligns with you. It might not be great for other people, right? A lot of people don't understand me, but the people who do understand me enjoy what I do. And that's the point, right? I'm not here. I talk to probably 0.5% of the population at most, which is still a huge number. Still a huge number. That's the point. But we have to, hey, Sister Jane, Carol, but you've changed your name to Cora. It is Carol though, right? Don't want to blow your cover here in my little group. Welcome. So, where was I going? Oh, that's right. a lot of us have been, Jill's question about, being jumped on for charging for our services and then feeling guilty that we're charging too much. It's up to us to let this go. This is old stuff that we've been indoctrinated with. So take some deep breaths, recognize that it's there, recognize that you have been not just judged in the past, but you've been well and truly tortured, persecuted, cast out, possibly put to death for charging for your services in the past, right? I'm not trying to overinflate the issue. This is what literally has happened for many of us. So you have a valid reason for feeling fearful about charging in this life. Valid based on your history, right? Not valid based on the external conditions today so much, right? You are very unlikely to be put to death for charging for your spiritual services today. But remnants will hang on. And particularly if you are feeling doubtful about charging, if you are basically going through this process of triggering these old energies and having these anxieties come to the surface, then quite often some caring individual will show up and help intensify that for you in the external, right? Someone will mirror back to you your own judgments about yourself, your own fears. Ducking pond memories, exactly, burnt at the stake memories, all sorts of memories. Those memories are just that. They are memories. And while it's important for us to be compassionate to ourselves, that we have a reason for feeling fearful around doing certain things, those feelings are here to be overcome. They're not valid in this moment for keeping us small. So recognize why we have a resistance to charging well for our work or charging at all for our work, and choose to move beyond it. Choose to do your practices. Choose to breathe in. Feel yourself expanding out of these contracting influences that have been implanted in your field through all sorts of brainwashing, torture techniques, etc., that has happened in the past. Traumatic experiences left you with a residue of fear around these potentials, and breathe out to allow more and more release. So we're expanding and releasing out of the influence of our past. That's what we're here to do as beings of light. That's our prime duty at this stage, is to keep expanding out of the contractive influence of our past persecution. Interesting that I just lost internet connection on that point. Anyway, my friends, hopefully that helps. Don't give in, right? Remember that a lot of these influences are not valid today. There's a valid reason why you feel it, but it's not valid that you follow it. That's the point, right? Don't make yourself wrong for feeling doubtful and fearful. Don't let the doubts and fears overly influence you. It's this balance point, recognizing what is without denying it, not allowing it to overly influence you because it's no longer relevant today, these old energies. And yet we still find ourselves getting triggered. There are still people walking around who think it's improper for us to do healings. There's still people who think that if you're doing God's work, then you should be doing it for free, which I always laugh at. I've come up against that numerous times. And then I ask the person what they do and whether they consider they're doing God's work or not. Right? Is not the talented accountant doing God's work? Is not the talented musician doing God's work? Is not the talented artist doing God's work? Is not the talented chef doing God's work? Right? And they are all quite able. Is not the talented friggin' heart surgeon doing God's work? Right? Amazing the way that these people can operate. They're definitely channeling. They're allowing the divine to flow through them. Some of the intricacies that these talented surgeons can do is not, humanly possible really, but yet because they put themselves in the zone, because they are there of service, they are able to do all sorts of amazing things with their scalpel and their whatever else instruments, right? They charge a fortune. No one blinks. No one thinks they're wrong for doing that. And yet if you turn up as an energy healer and help someone, then that's supposed to be for free. It's absolutely ludicrous, of course, but yet people are still carrying this belief system because it's been put there by those that wish to keep those who operate from light diminished, disempowered on this planet, right? So that's the point. Recognize that we are all expanding out of these old indoctrinations, and our job is not to feel guilty about charging, not to feel fearful about charging. No, don't be fearful of being judged. Understand that when you get judged for charging, you are giving yourself and the other an opportunity to expand out of that old paradigm. When you challenge them in a loving way, oh, I shouldn't charge for my services, why not, right? Challenge their belief about why you shouldn't, because in doing so, you're going to reinforce it for yourself and you are going to help them evolve, because they're just holding a belief, and most people don't challenge their own beliefs. They just think it's true. They just think it's right. This is what I believe and this is right. This is the law. This is how it is. This is right versus wrong. It's wrong what you're doing. It's right what I think. When you help people challenge that, you are helping the whole of society expand, right? Because this is what we're here to let go of, right versus wrong. These contracted paradigms, dogmas. So every time you get challenged, it's an opportunity. Now, don't sacrifice yourself trying to argue with someone. You state what you know. It is totally appropriate for me to charge, just like it's totally appropriate for everyone who's doing God's work to charge, whether that's of a spiritual, esoteric nature or whether that's of a spiritual, practical nature. It's all the same, right? And then if they want to argue back and this and that and you're getting nowhere, you walk away, right? You don't diminish your energy fighting with someone who is not willing to inquire a little bit deeper. Hey, Brother Brad. So again, there's these balance lines here. We must be willing to stand up for ourselves. It's not appropriate for us to throw ourselves under the bus trying to prove a point. So yeah, awesome, Audra. Challenge them. Yeah, challenge them, but don't do so in a way that's provocative of a fight. Do so in a way that's provocative of their expansion. And if they're not willing to expand, you just let it go. Trust that your words will be carried by them. A lot of people can't bear to be wrong, so they're going to argue in the moment to be right, but over time, your words will have influence. So that's the point. A lot of the time, we don't get the satisfaction of actually having people go, hey, you're right. We don't get that. So don't even go looking for that, right? Don't go looking for appreciation when you challenge someone. You're not likely to get it. But that's not the point. You're here of service, right? That's where we started this whole conversation. We're here of service. And so we have to be willing to serve in a way that's not so egoically satisfying sometimes. Jill said, I'm driving 4 hours tomorrow to another part of the country to find my new home. Wow, I'm excited and petrified. Have been... Oh, I'm going to try and read that down here because it's too long to read up there. Have been told by an estate agent my home is worth more than I thought, so I have a bigger pot of money to use in Cornwall. Yay. I do not feel guilty about this either. I have worked 40 plus years to be right here now. The agent surprisingly called my home a unicorn, i.e. a rare find. Awesome that you've brought unicorn energy into your estate agent's field of possibility when selling your home for a price that's above what you expected, which is perfect, and allowing you to potentially get something more supportive or have some money left over, whatever. When you find your new home in an area that feels more supportive to your energy field, right? Perfect. Love that. Holding space for your exploration tomorrow through the lanes of Cornwall. Enjoy it. Anyway, my friends, I've been here for longer than I potentially could be. I've done my 30 odd minutes. So much love. I'll wrap this up here. We will be back again next week. And in the meantime, very happy to dance with any of you who have questions or requests of us. Please just, whenever you feel like, pop a post in this group and I will, what's going on, Mary? Why are you frozen? Was that me that got frozen? Potentially, I had a little drop out. But anyway, the replay will be all good. So if you missed part of this, you can always watch it back in replay. Much love, my friends. Thanks, Audra. Bye for now. Namaste. Enjoy. Be expansive and enjoy this world. I know it seems very, very freaking serious right now. I'm not frozen. It's mild here today. Anyway, much love, Mary. Bye for now.